So have you ever thought you were recording and you weren't? That's the second week in a row that I was recording my podcast and I actually put video to it. So I didn't have to have the voice put to video for my YouTube channel. And everything happens for a reason, right? So I guess I'm meant to re-record what I just recorded for my podcast here for you on video. What I talked about and what was interesting and kind of came through for me this week was the whole talking to yourself. So, what advice would you give a younger you? Let's say if I could go back to my 18-year-old self as I'm graduating high school, deciding where I'm going to go with my future. Which side note, I would truly go, if you're interested at all in what you hear here, listen to my podcast, because it's probably one of my longer ones, but it dives into this quite a bit more. And I share a lot about actually an exercise I did this morning, which I'll share with you here in a moment. But my 18-year-old self. So what it came down to is what I would ask myself at 18, or what advice I would give myself would be, first and foremost, what do you want to do? Like, if you could wake up every morning and do X or do Z or go here, what would that be? And kind of what I play around with my kids with is this same thing. It's really about finding what you love to do and figuring out a way to make money doing it, or to be able to sustain yourself by doing it. So taking that a few steps forward and a little bit deeper, our purpose in life finds us. And so often what we do is we think that we have to find our purpose, but it's through doing the things and showing up and having passion about something, or going down this road, or when you hit that fork in the road, which way do you go? And that's where it wasn't until I started taking chances in my 30s that things started to really happen. And it's really what Bob talks about. Bob Proctor, my first mentor, is hitting the tear barrier. So you hit the tear barrier, and it's really what you do at that moment. Most people, 90 to 95% of people, bounce off of it and back to bondage and safety and what they know. Very few people are willing to break through it and go through the discomfort and go through the mess and the unknown. It's really, it's quite profound, actually, if you think about it. If you look around at what people are doing and what they talk about and what they're consuming, most people aren't thinking, and most people are just wanting to do something more, but the fear and doubt and worry stops them. So if I could go back to my 18-year-old self, or a younger version of me, I would say just that, follow some passions. What your passion is today, it might not be the same tomorrow. And what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to learn, unlearn, and relearn, and be fluid in it. I stayed at places in my life, careers, and things I was doing for far too long out of sheer comfort, and not wanting to be uncomfortable or have to look elsewhere, or it's good enough, or I have a roof over my head, I don't need that. I mean, that's a little excessive, don't you think? Looking at other people, and really, when you look at other people and you put down what they have or what they've done, you are definitely coming from a lack and limitation, and not from abundance. And you're not going to invite abundance into your life, and it's when you see something that someone has that you are envious of, or maybe jealous of, or a little I guess even just like frustrated about, you say negative things about them or about how they acquired it, really stop and reverse that as quickly as you can. Catch yourself and bless them and be like, wow, that's amazing. Good for her. It's just all about lifting other people up and being in that energy and coming from that person. And, then thinking about how it would feel if it was yours and what you want and where you want to go, instead of putting people down or putting that bad energy out. Lift it up a little bit. Another thing in talking about talking to yourself, I found Alex Hormozy on YouTube, and I'm sure some of you know him. If not, I would look him up. It's pretty amazing, some of the stuff he does, and he actually reminds me so much of my brother. So I love sitting and listening to him because I see so much of my brother in him and his mannerisms and how he talks and just how direct and straightforward he is. So I think that's one of the reasons too. I just kind of kept watching his videos, but he has a lot of amazing things to say. And if you're an entrepreneur or if you're someone trying to build a business or scale a business, I would go and listen to him because he has amazing content, free content, because he's at a point where he's going to, I think he's at 83 million. Last I heard, don't quote me, could be very wrong, but he's looking at going to 1 billion. And he's to the point where it doesn't make sense because he has all the money. So now what he thought isn't, and what is this about? So he's just in total give back mode. So if you're trying to do anything with your business or stuck, go watch some of his stuff. I promise you it'll be worth your time. But I digress. So anyways, I was listening to something from him this weekend, and he was talking about talking to his future self. So he talked to his 85-year-old self, and he kind of laughed at himself in the podcast he was being interviewed on. But he said, I just started doing this exercise where Monday mornings I block off time and I have a conversation with my 85-year-old self. And he went on to say some pretty interesting things that make sense if you sit back and think about it. Really, he's like, no therapist, no a life coach, no mentor, no one outside of yourself really have the context and the concept. They just don't know what you know about you. They haven't been on your journey. They haven't walked in your shoes, or whatever, however you want to say it. And so he talks to himself and he asks himself questions and he gets answers. Because if you know about coaching, or if you are a coach, and if you've been trained or listened to some of the best and the greatest, and you really understand, the bottom line is we have the answers. We just have to ask the right questions. And so often we are going outside of ourselves. We're looking around to our neighbors, to our coworkers, to our best friends that don't want to do what we want to do or go where we want to go. They don't have our goals. And we're asking all these people for the answers or for advice, or what would you do? Don't get advice from someone that's not already done what you intend to do. Or look on and inside. Look to the inside of you. Look to yourself, because the answers are in there. You can take advice from someone that's done what you intend to do and find out the way and the path. But if you're looking for answers for yourself, go inside and have a conversation with your future self. So talk to your younger self, give that person advice, because it will have you reflect a lot on how far you've come. And then to get from where you are to where you want to go, ask yourself some questions. Sit down and just block out time. I did it this morning, and I cannot tell you what came out, what came up. I had no idea what was going to happen. And it was really, for me, it was profound, because I was asking some questions. I'm at a part in my business where it's hard at first, then it gets really messy, And then there's beauty and freedom, and it's great. I'm down in the hard and messy part. Like, I'm into stuff that I have no idea what I'm doing. I just jump 2 feet in and I will figure it out. It's kind of like build the plane while you're flying it type thing. So I'm in the mess of it, and it's hard and it's difficult. And there are some days where I want to just not do it. And I know my vision, and to get to where I want to go and to help as many people as I want to help and to have the impact I want to have, I have to go through the mess and I have to go through the hard, because coming from almost billionaire, multi-millionaire, you can't cut corners. You really can't. You can get advice. You can get from where you are to where you want to go a lot quicker. But you have to do the work. You have to show up consistently. So many people start, stop, or start. And in 90 days, they're not seeing the results. So they pivot and they go a different direction. This isn't working. This isn't working. This isn't working. And what he said, and what is kind of the string or the connection or the line of all the people, the top 1% that are really making it happen, is consistency, is showing up and doing it regardless of the current results. That's what my mentor and coach talks about now too. Consistency. I wrote it down. He said, discipline and order equals success. And with discipline comes consistency. And I always say consistency and success are best friends. Without one, you're not going to have the other. So I ask you, where are you not showing up consistently? One of the questions I asked my future self today is, what do I need to do today? And I got an answer. We know the answers. We know what we should be doing. We know. It's just most of the time we're not willing to do it. We will make every excuse. We will let our habitual behaviors and paradigms and all of that sneak back up, because it's easier, because hard things are hard and messy is not fun. And then we'll make all the excuses of why it's fine. I don't really need this. I'm okay where I'm at. Who do I think I am? Like, my parents didn't have that. And what would my family say? Or what will my relatives say? Or what will my friends say? Well, screw all that. Honestly, like, think about what you want and start going after what you want, and do it with consistency. Do it with the idea that your goal is already done. You just have to connect to it, to feel it as if it's already here and done, and act as if you are that millionaire. You have the business you want. You have the number of clients you want. You are serving at the level you want to serve. And start showing up as that person today. Use your imagination. Fantasize about what that feels like, what you will do. It's not about, again, getting the goal. The goal is the side effect. It's who you become along the way and in the process. And as I was doing this exercise, it was really interesting because it was pretty emotional, and I went back into my past, and there's a lot of things that I need to let go of. So I just want to, on the podcast, I went into it a lot deeper, but I just want to encourage you to let go of things from your past that you may have guilt or shame around, or, you're just not, it's almost holding you back and it's a weight on you. It's true what they say, that you cannot change the past. And I know you've heard that saying over and over and over again. But if you don't let go of the past and you just decide it's not going to control you anymore, you break the chains and you really just focus on your future, focus on today, and start changing your behavior that's no longer serving you. That's a lot of what Bob coached to, what my mentor talks about, is nothing changes if nothing changes. So you can hire the best mentors. You can hire the best coaches. You can watch YouTube videos for hours and hours and hours on end. You can read the books. You can listen to the podcast. You can do all this stuff, but that's not going to change your behavior. You have to go in and change your behavior. You have to make some decisions, some irrevocable, committed decisions about what you're going to do. And that's why your goal has to both terrify you and inspire you at the same time, because if it doesn't, and if it's not big enough, you're not going to recommit to it every day. And you're going to find all the reasons, and the excuses are going to creep in of why you don't need to go after it, or you don't need to do it, or you're fine where you're at, and blah, 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 blah. You've heard it all before. You've done it all before. Most people have. So as I was doing my writing exercise, I was listening to music, and a song by Pink came on, and I'd never heard it before, because I was just playing let the music pick, what I was going to listen to. It just knows what vibe I was in. And a song called All I Know So Far by Pink came on. And the lyrics and what I was writing and everything, it was just like, whoa. I hear you, universe. Like, that was divine intervention. Let me tell you, couldn't have been wrote better. I mean, I couldn't have picked out a better song, and I never heard it before. And one of the lines that it says in it is, "Let the walls crack. It lets the light in." So think about what borders or walls or things you've put up around yourself to maybe protect yourself, or to keep you stuck where you are and box yourself in. We talk about so many times how others box us in, and that happens. We let that happen. But even think about how we box ourselves in and how we limit ourselves. So I encourage you to think about what's holding you back. What's one thing that you can just decide today? It's the past. I'm going to focus on today and my future. And that's just it's not going to hold me down anymore. It's not going to be my chains. I'm breaking the chains. The walls are going to crack. Some light's going to come in, and that's going to be the beginning of the rest of my life. It was an amazing exercise. And again, I'll link the podcast so you can listen to it if you want. It's about 30 minutes, but it was it got emotional at times. And that's the point of this. The point of this is to sit where you are, go back to the past, go into the future, and feel all the things you need to feel. Let go of the things you need to let go of. Set the goals you need to get from where you are to where you want to be, and just sit in silence if you need to. So many people think silence is so uncomfortable, but it's when we give ourselves the space, when we give ourselves the room to have conversations, or to sit and wait for an answer, to ask the question, that things happen. It's a great exercise. I would really highly recommend you go and do it. It changed a lot for me in just the first time I did it. About an hour, everyone was gone from my house. I had the quiet. I was able to just reflect. I was able to let whatever came out come out. And it was stuff that I had no idea was going to come up to the surface, but it did. And it was healing, and it was awesome. So I wanted to share that today. Yeah, I would highly encourage you to do it. Schedule some time on your calendar to spend with your 80, 85-year-old self, or go 10 years into the future, 20, 40 years, and talk to that person, because it's a cool exercise. And I got it from an almost billionaire. So, hey, why not try it, right? I encourage you to as well. Make it a good one.